Misfits Boxing 007, where KSI made his return in the ring against Joe Fournier, wrapped up about a week ago, and in this video I'm going to be taking you through the full card and what really happened in each and every fight, as well as the aftermath and what is to come. So it started off with the prelims, and these Happy Punch prelims were definitely cool to see. It was the first time we saw a Misfits card with prelims, and it was kind of its own separate event that were free to watch on YouTube and generated about 400,000 concurrent viewers. So definitely a big success and definitely great to see, with some of these fights even hitting the mainstream. And in the first fight, we saw Halal Ham take on Zuckles as the mystery opponent. A nice return to see from Halal Ham, who has had a great body transformation in his last fight, and he beat Zuckles by unanimous decision in this one. Pretty much just walking forward and throwing right hands over the top and getting the job done. I don't think that they should have done a mystery opponent this early on into the card, as there wasn't really anyone in the crowd or there to see the spectacle. So for this to be wasted on a prelim fight, I don't think it was the right move, especially the first one of the night. Last time they did the mystery opponent, it was a huge revelation. Luis Pineda came out in a sold out crowd, everyone was cheering, and it made for great entertainment. But this one I feel like they could have done better, and hopefully they'll learn from that and put a mystery opponent more deeper into the card next time. And then there were more fights like Luis Espina fighting Callum King and beating him by unanimous decision, followed by Unbear and Korn going to war in a split decision. One of the funniest fights on this entire card. Both of these guys clearly lacked experience, but nonetheless quite the spectacle, as both guys gave it their all, and Unbear taking home a split decision victory. And then finally, as the main event to the prelims, Wings of Redemption beat Boogie 2988 in the heaviest recorded boxing match of all time. This one gained mainstream media attention and everyone was talking about it. But honestly, great to see these two take their career in this direction. Even just getting into the ring itself should definitely be applauded for both of these guys. About a combined 800 pounds total in that ring, and Wings of Redemption just dominated it from beginning to end, landing shot after shot on Boogie, who really just didn't know how to take a punch, and getting the stoppage victory in the second round after a multiple standing 8 counts. And then on to the main Misfits card, we had Lil Belsi taking on Kaimichi and winning that fight by unanimous decision. A big size difference in this one, and Lil Belsi definitely did well, using her reach advantage and her range to set the pace of the fight with her jab and get the job done. And then Paige Keiki took on Tennessee Thresh and won that fight by unanimous decision. A back and forth contest, but Paige Keiki gets the job done. And now we're getting into the last 4 and biggest fights of the card, where Viruzz took on DK Money in what was surprisingly the best fight of the night. Both of these guys actually came out looking really good. DK Money definitely impressed and showed well since his last outing against King Kenny. He definitely improved a lot since then, and this was really just a battle of the lead hand, as well as the lead foot, as DK Money was fighting out of the southpaw stance while Viruzz was fighting out of orthodox. And DK Money was able to get on the outside of Viruzz's leg and land big shots and counter Viruzz and dropping him in the second round. And while it looked like it was swaying in DK Money's direction, Viruzz came back in that same round and landed a devastating uppercut which put DK Money down and out of the fight completely around the end of the second round. And a great fight, a great back and forth match, probably the best fight of the night, especially considering this is the only clean knockout on the entire card. A great comeback victory for Viruzz, getting his name out there, and Viruzz winning the prime KO of the night bonus. And then on to the people's main event, Anthony Taylor took on Salt Papi, where we actually got the upset of the night. Anthony Taylor was definitely slept on coming into this fight. He's an experienced MMA fighter turned crossover boxer who's been fighting the best of the best competition in this entire scene, like guys like Tommy Fury and Idris Virgo, who are real professional boxers with professional records, and Anthony Taylor did last the distance with both of them, also beating Ashley Raksu towards the later parts of last year, which before this was probably his best performance to date, as Anthony Taylor is undefeated against influencer boxers. And he kept that going on Misfits 007, executing a perfect game plan. Came in against the tricky southpaw in Salt Papi and just pressured him and just made Salt Papi not be able to find his range or find his rhythm, overwhelming him with right hands over the top and coming forward, crossing over and just using his aggressive clinching style to get the unanimous decision victory, which should definitely propel Anthony Taylor to bigger and better opportunities. He took a fight against one of the most feared guys in this entire scene, which is of course Salt Papi, who no influencers really wanted to fight prior to this, as he had 2 devastating knockouts back to back, had all the hype on him and had this invincible aura, with people even accusing him of having an amateur pedigree and saying that he should go pro instead of fighting these influencers because he's way past that level. But while Salt Papi should definitely still get credit for also taking this fight against Anthony Taylor, I do think the 3 rounds did go against him in this one. He didn't really have any time to get started, but even though it was 3 rounds, the later it went, it just favored Anthony Taylor more and more. Salt Papi just never made those adjustments to be able to get the job done. He was throwing left hands and different hooks, but just getting caught over the top and not really fixing his defense or getting out of range, which is why Anthony Taylor dominated this one, and I do believe that he should get a big opportunity next. Calling out guys like Slim, which would definitely be an interesting one. And Salt Papi, I feel like if he goes back back to fighting influencers, he will definitely do well. He's still very skilled and he fought a really tough competition in Anthony Taylor. And he's been calling out Deji, which would definitely be an interesting one. And speaking of Deji, he beat Swarmz via another dominant unanimous decision, which was a really comfortable fight for him. He was just staying cautious and showing a higher fight IQ, kind of just imposing his experience on Swarmz, outpacing him throughout the fight and teeing off on him against the ropes for just a majority of it. Deji's been boxing pretty much since the whole start of crossover boxing, since around 2018, and Swarmz only started around August of 2022. So less than a year of experience for Swarmz, but he still showed well and he had an incredible body transformation going into this. But Deji just executed a good game plan, which while I feel like he could have made a statement and got Swarmz out of there, he did do what he had to get the job done on the night. He showed patience and a level head not to just go off too much on the ropes, as sometimes when he would just let his hands fly, Swarmz would be able to counter him with a couple of right hooks. But Deji did a good job of keeping the fight where he wanted, with Swarmz on the ropes and Swarmz not really being comfortable, not really knowing where to go, how to get out. So a good performance by Deji and a solid outing from Swarmz, being able to last the distance with a much more experienced guy. And right after that, Pineda and B-Dave came into the ring and called out Swarmz, as it seems like that may be the next fight they're setting up. Swarmz and Pineda, obviously the two opponents that KSI fought back in August of last year for 2 fights in one night. I feel like this definitely would have made more sense if Swarmz won this fight, but regardless, it is interesting to see. And I'm sure people will be tuning in if that fight does happen, so a great match to make. And then we get on to the final fight where KSI fought Joe Fournier and TKO'd him in controversial fashion. KSI started with his bounce and he was controlling a majority of the fight. He blasted Joe Fournier early with a solid right hand and just got his respect, with Joe Fournier really never getting started and never really finding his footing. KSI was bouncing around the ring, more explosive, more fast, and obviously the fresher fighter of the two, being over 10 years younger than Joe Fournier, and that definitely showed in the ring. KSI looked not only younger but even more experienced under the bright lights. He was patient and just looked for the right overhand, which he eventually got in the second round. But when Joe went for the clinch, KSI tried to throw a right hook over the top, which he barely grazed with the punch and followed through with his full forearm, putting Joe Fournier onto the canvas and knocking him out in the process with an illegal blow. Not the best way to end the main event of the night, and obviously that was controversial fashion. This made headlines everywhere and everyone talking about this, from boxing fans, YouTube fans, MMA fans, and everything in between, which has recently been overturned as a no decision. So even though KSI did win on the night and the referee didn't see the foul, it has been overturned, and there's now no official winner in this one, which kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth of this event. But regardless, KSI seems to be moving on from this fight as he faced off with Tommy Fury in the ring, which is the next fight to make, which he's been calling out Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury's been calling out KSI, and it just makes all the sense. A huge step up for KSI though, and it will definitely be a tough challenge. Tommy Fury having proved earlier this year that he is at the top of this influencer boxing scene by beating what was widely considered the best YouTube boxer in Jake Paul. And this card really just had everything. It had interesting moments and obviously made for a solid event with excitement, upsets, controversy, knockouts, viral moments, surprises, and more. And it seems to be a success, as it reportedly did over 300,000 pay-per-view buys, which is pretty good for KSI considering his opponent wasn't much of a draw and never headlined any pay-per-view show prior to this fight. And Joe Fournier didn't have that big of a name coming into this fight, so you can definitely assume KSI versus Tommy Fury or KSI versus Jake Paul will definitely do great numbers and pull a lot of viewers, as KSI is already able to do 300,000 pretty much just on his own. So that is what really happened on Misfits Boxing 007. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on all of these fights. But yeah, that's it for this breakdown of this full card, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on, and thank you for watching.